We good to get started?
Yep.
All right. I'm Kyle Tucker. My partner, Stephen Roper. This is our presentation about ChatGPT, the implications for K-12 academic use or misuse. I'd like to acknowledge our course and our colleagues who've gone before us and are going to go after us. Our professors who've done an excellent job. I also would like to give a shout out to my partner, Stephen Roper. He actually was the one that came up with this topic. Next slide, please. Is technology helping or hurting us? I asked this question because I work in a high school, like a lot of the other people in this class. I see cell phones every day, and there's a lot of literature and a lot of opinions out there about cell phone and how it's hurting us, how it's not. You have VR. VR is taking a big step forward. And then when you talk about AI, you're talking about artificial intelligence, and that's a lot of what this presentation is about. Okay, right. What you see here is the cookie cutter definition for AI, artificial intelligence. I actually found a resource, journal article, who was doing a study to assess the impact of artificial intelligence on education. In the abstract, it says AI has provided students with improved learning experiences because AI has enabled customization and personalization. My definition of AI is a little bit different. I would define artificial intelligence in the educational setting. I would define it as anything that can make a teacher or a student's workload less. But that raises the question, how intelligent is too intelligent? Next slide, please. Examples of AI, obviously the first one that comes to mind is Terminator. Terminator, Alexa, Siri. Hopefully none of those devices just went off in your house or on your phone. These are just some examples of AI, some real, some not, but I thought it was fitting for the presentation. A little bit of background, ChatGPT was developed by a company called OpenAI. It was founded in 2015 by a group of individuals, one including Elon Musk. Microsoft was a big proprietor of OpenAI. They invested over $1 billion. Also used their training techniques for their ChatGPT's language models. And we're just recently, as of March of this year, Microsoft is bringing AI to its platforms, and direct quote, turn a Word document into a PowerPoint presentation in seconds. So, I mean, that sounds pretty exciting to me. We'll see how it goes, but I knew it was a matter of time before Microsoft would get into it. Next slide, please. I know I'm going a little bit fast, but I promise we'll get to the good stuff. Some literature on ChatGPT, Dr. Stephen Atlas from the University of Rhode Island. I was actually referred to this source by our media specialist here at the school I work at. He wrote a book called ChatGPT for Higher Education and Professional Development, a guide to conversational AI. In that book, he provided specific examples of what it can do. It can be trained to understand and analyze student writing samples. It can be trained to provide feedback and guidance to students on assignments. It can be used to provide relevant resources or articles for research purposes. For teachers, it can create lesson plans, presentations. It can translate materials for ESOL students and teachers, all in a matter of seconds. And these are all things that are already happening in the educational setting per Dr. Stephen Atlas. So the question becomes, how can it help K through 12 teachers in the classroom? Okay, this is a big one to me because I'm a special education teacher myself. It can provide text by Lexile, based on Lexile for differentiation for students. This is a screenshot, and you're going to see a lot of screenshots here in this PowerPoint of responses that we were given by chat. This is a response generated by ChatGPT to the prompt in the title of this slide. Let it be noted that this is just a portion of the response. It was a little bit larger, but I just put what I could fit on the page. Right off the bat, it's a huge time saver. You're going to hear me say that phrase a lot. It's a huge time saver for special education teachers. It allows you to be better at measuring growth and also, like I said, differentiate. I would say the biggest issue for me right now in my setting is progress monitoring. It's hard because you don't see all of your kids on a daily basis. So you really can't measure their growth in math if they're not taking math this semester, or if they are and you're not in that class, and we have different caseloads every year. So this really is an easier way for you to write an IEP goal and be able to measure it using chat. Next slide, please. I'm also a math teacher by trade. I usually focus on Algebra 1, so I played around with a little. We use IXL, and chat is kind of similar to IXL in that way that it can break down the problems for you. You can also modify the prompt to where it can explain how to solve, explain, step by step, give you layman's terms. It's all about the prompt, really. Is if the more detailed you are in the prompt, the more detailed they're going to be in the response. This is a big asset, especially if you consider tutoring your students and you have, if there's one teacher and 15 students in the room, and for after school tutoring, this could be a big game changer for you. Designing a rubric. This is also another big time saver. This is a rubric that Chat gave to me on a prompt I gave it. It was generated less than 2 minutes. You can, like I said, you can modify the prompt for specifics or for different grade bands. You can design a prompt, or design a rubric based on a paper, presentation, speech, what have you. It's very versatile. And again, this gets some teachers away from just dusting off the old rubric they've been using for years and years and years. You can get more cutting edge with it. You can make it how you want and not have to worry about all the time it takes to make it. It can create quizzes and tests. Now, this is just I gave the prompt, create a 5-question multiple choice quiz over the Great Gatsby. Again, another time saver. I know a lot of people prefer Google Forms. I've used Google Forms. I thought that it's very helpful, but this is obviously much faster. And, it can also, if you keep the conversation fluent and current, don't exit out or anything, it can provide you with the answer key. And I just want to say that there won't be any live demonstrations in this presentation, just based on the fact that there's such a high demand for ChatGPT right now. And it has been down a few times in the past couple of weeks that we've been preparing for today. So we kind of feared about connectivity issues, and we didn't want to put something in the presentation not knowing if it was going to work. Syllabus, right? Syllabus, those dog days during pre-planning, the last thing you're thinking about is writing a whole syllabus, but chat, it can spit one out for you in seconds. This is a portion of the whole response. It also included a breakdown of 6 separate units with learning objectives for each unit. It was very in-depth. Like I said, for space reasons, I just included this portion. It provides more context, you can provide more context and make the syllabus tailor-made for your needs or your class, your students. And you can also incorporate the standards set forth by the state. Summarize text. Now, it's kind of a two-way street for this, because it all depends on if you're assessing the students on their writing skills. Obviously, you don't want them using this to complete an assignment. That would obviously be one of those misuses that my partner Steven is going to talk about here in a minute. But if you're, like I said, I'm a special education teacher, and if you have students that have reading deficits or something like that, this can really help them out with their reading comprehension skills and kind of, scaffold a little bit to where you want them to be. Also, you can modify the prompt to be more simple in terms for the special education students, or any students for that matter, that have any kind of reading comprehension deficits. But like I said, this can be good or bad. And the prompt for that was to provide me a summary of the first 2 chapters of To Kill a Mockingbird. Other uses. This is a list of some other things that you can do with chat. You can provide a list for text, or a list from a given text, provide feedback, generate writing prompts. The more, I would say, the more in depth you go into the prompt, the better off you're going to be as far as what you get out of it. But again, I say all that to say this: the time saving benefits are there. Time saving benefits, and also I would be remiss if I didn't mention, as a special education teacher, I often deal with students with social deficits, and its conversational implications are huge for students with social deficits. In my opinion, I think that it would be a great way to help train certain students. Like I have a senior right now who's getting ready to graduate, smart as whip, but socially speaking, he's not quite where we want him to be yet. We're hoping that he kind of opens up a little bit once he moves on to college. Something like this would be huge for him to discuss certain topics. It says right there you can debate topics. So again, these are some just other uses you can use chat for. Some downsides. I'm going to turn it over to my partner Steven so he can talk to you about the downsides and limitations.
All right, downsides and limitations. So we got the good part. And this is the part that when most people have heard of ChatGPT, this is probably what they think of, plagiarism being the main thing. But you may not be as familiar with the limitations per se as you are with plagiarism. This is from a slide deck created by Tori Truss at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Write a self-reflection. These are things it can't do right now, or at least a month or two ago, January. Write a self-reflection describing how the content we covered in class last week shifted your thinking about your role as a current future teacher. It can't self-reflect because it doesn't have human experiences. It has machine learning, which isn't the same. It doesn't have emotional intelligence because it doesn't have human emotions. So it can't do that. Write about anything that happened after 2021. That's probably changed, but when it first came out, that's all that the data that was fed to it went up to was 2021. So now with, again, machine learning, and every time people are using it, it gets smarter and smarter and has more information. I bet that has changed. Provide non-text based responses. It can't do that. You can't ask it to make a TikTok video for you or even examine a photograph online. It's not going to draw you a map or create a meme. It can make a chart, but that's about as far as it goes for creating visual images. Make predictions about future events. I'm thinking this has changed because I saw something the other day when it was predicting the stock market. Summarize content from the internet. It can't really browse the internet per se to look at specific websites. Supposedly you can't like tell it to summarize something, summarize a website or a web page. It can summarize, the Great Gatsby, but not a specific web page. And again, because of its limitations with visual materials, it can't draw connections between class content and visual materials. ChatGPT and plagiarism. This is what's in the news. It's been in the news. New York City Department of Education, based on an NBC News article. NYC solution to the problem of students plagiarizing or cheating using ChatGPT is to ban it entirely from the schools. Well, that isn't going to solve the problem of students using it to plagiarize at home or on any computer not on the system's network. Also, many students are savvy enough to get around school systems filters with the use of VPNs and such, so they could be using it at school. Along with the unfeasibility of banning it, this also leads to the fact that children are often most attracted to things that have been forbidden them. A student who was not originally attracted to the concept of using ChatGPT to cheat, or perhaps not even aware of ChatGPT at all, may become so if it's strictly forbidden to them. It may pique their curiosity, just like other things they've been told not to do or access. We're all familiar with what plagiarism is. This is a simple Merriam-Webster definition: to steal and pass off the ideas or words of another as one's own. Use another's production without crediting the source. However, ChatGPT kind of adds a twist to this, perhaps to the parameters of the definition. It's unlikely ever to take full sentences or full paragraphs like students are known to do, just copy and pasting from a website of somebody else's work. Instead, it's collecting information from such a wide variety of sources, thousands at times, and it compiles this information into what it believes it's trying to answer or construct. So it's very hard to detect plagiarism from ChatGPT. So is it really plagiarizing another's work when that other is actually an unknown number of sources, possibly thousands of sources? In other words, it would be hard for an author to sue ChatGPT for stealing his or her work, since there wouldn't be enough taken from that one individual source to make it distinguishable enough to say it's from that source. Just something to think about. I mean, clearly it's unethical to use GPT to attempt to pass off what it constructs as something you constructed, but is it plagiarism? You don't have one other and other. Is it plagiarism, or do we have to create a new category of bad digital citizenship? ChatGPT cheating, what to do when it happens. And it's happening right now as we speak. Some universities have recently created written policies regarding ChatGPT, especially as it relates to academic integrity and implications for students and instructors. Most K through 12 school systems haven't caught up yet, but they really need to do so soon, especially in light of this recent survey by study.com that says that more than a quarter of K through 12 teachers have caught their students cheating using ChatGPT. Some suggestions from an article by A. Klein, ChatGPT cheating, what to do when it happens, and from Education Week. What's the best way to handle this? They're recommending don't start with a punitive response. See it more as a teaching moment or an opportunity to have a conversation. It offers 6 tips. First one, make your expectations very clear. Always a good idea. Students need to know exactly what constitutes cheating, whether AI tools are involved or not. Every school or district needs to have concrete policies in writing on academic dishonesty and what that means specifically, and they can decide how much or how little students can rely on AI to make, small cosmetic changes or do research, and they should make that clear to students. Talk to students about AI in general and ChatGPT. If you think that a student has passed off ChatGPT's work as their own, sit down with them one-on-one and talk to them about it. Talk to them about the tool and AI in general. You could ask them, have you heard of ChatGPT? What are other students saying about it? What do you think it should be used for? And discuss the promises and potential pitfalls of artificial intelligence. If students use ChatGPT for an assignment, they must attribute what they used. And by the way, APA, I was looking at today, APA 7th edition, they haven't caught up with this either yet. They have interim guidelines. They haven't even figured out how they're going to tell you to cite it yet. But if students are allowed to use it or another AI tool for research or other help, let them know how they should credit it, how you want them to credit it. Since users can't link back to a ChatGPT response, it's suggested students share the prompt they use to generate the information to their citation. So don't rely on, ask students directly if they use ChatGPT. Don't beat around the bush if you suspect a student may have used it to cheat. Ask them in a very straightforward way. If they say yes, try to figure out why. If they say no, but you still suspect them of cheating, ask if they got other help with the assignment. If they still say no, then the ages old method of just explaining to them, well, this is your writing now. I mean, this was your writing before, and then this was your writing now, and show them the differences. There are a number of tools that claim to be able to detect an AI crafted essay or story, including one now by OpenAI, ChatGPT's developer. But what they don't tell you is most of them have about a 10 to 20% they're effective only about 10 to 20% of the time. So you can't fully rely on those. And the last one, most importantly, probably is make it clear why learning to write on your own is important, rather than taking a technology-enabled shortcut. Try to persuade students that learning to write on their own will help them reason and think, or it can be critical to future job success. If nothing else, tell them if they can write persuasively, then they can help them get what they want. Potential research topics. I'm not necessarily of generative AI in education. I'm not going to necessarily go through all this. This is from an article by Wang and Chen, an editorial position paper. And this is just a small part of it at the end. But as this thing gets more entrenched in education, the potential research topics are just going to increase more and more. Some of this different educational models, effect on learning performance and behavioral patterns, et cetera. So the more this ball gets rolling, the more that we're going to see. References. All right. Now we got time for questions, Q&A. You can throw it in the chat, or you can just speak out.
I do like the idea of trying to recall some of the stuff that they may have wrote if they did write it just to prove plagiarism. Because to your point, having a before and after is like you used to write like this, and now this is what I'm getting. I was like, can you say it out loud, or could you read to me what you wrote and see if they can give it back to you?
It makes sense. And I taught English for 12 years, so I did the same thing. And it's really not that hard when you when you're, especially later in the school year, when you're used to seeing the students writing, and then all of a sudden, they're using $20 words.
I think
Sometimes,
it,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think it's quite funny. This is Jordan. I teach science, and our ELA teacher has been out the past couple of days, so I've been printing research papers for the students. And I pulled one up to my desk and I said, I know this isn't your writing. And they're like, how do you know? I said, when you copied and pasted it from a website, it kept the background color.
Yeah.
It's no longer white. And they're like, yeah, I don't know how it did that. I was like, sweetie, I mean, it's gray, baby. Like, there's not any doubt here. So I just had a conversation. I said, do you want to discuss this with your ELA teacher, or should I? He's like, I'll have that discussion. So, and I actually brought Chat GPT up to our tech people. I'm a very small county. I was like, do you have anything in place? Just like you were saying. And they're like, we don't. And I was like, well, it's going to be a big issue here soon.
Yeah.
There are several universities that have developed policies already, and I think that local school boards will follow suit pretty soon.
I think the important thing is that you're going to have to deal with it no matter what. It's here. That horse has left the barn. So you might as well try to use it to your advantage and mitigate the harm.
I know in the chat I put about the plagiarism being unique ideas. I think when I was an undergrad, again, many years ago, that was emphasized is about being your unique ideas. And I feel like that when you were saying have a conversation about it, when we send our students off, especially in middle and high, and start giving them these research topics, about the Canterbury Tales or Gulliver's Travels and things like that, it's hard for them to come up with unique ideas. But you still have to have that conversation about, that's someone else's thoughts. So just because you didn't put 3 words in a row, or something like that.
Yeah. Gloria say ChatGPT sounds very helpful for teachers. Some countries have actually banned it. What's your opinion on that? Well, just like New York City, I wonder if their ban is still in effect, because I don't think that's going to work. There are a lot of things that are banned in Richmond County where I work, and those are the things that kids enjoy the most, and they're able to get to them. So I don't think banning is the solution. I think managing and making clear expectations is a solution. Just my 2 cents. All right. I guess it's about that time, right? 6:55.